There are encounters in life that don't come to stay immediately. They just pass by like a rain shower, enough to remind us that there are still kind people out there quietly living and striving every day. The An carries a past that hasn't yet closed. Uyen carries silence to preserve peace. Han lives amidst hardship but remains strong. And Phuong Phuong, a stranger, chooses to help others when she herself has nothing. Life is sometimes strange. The rich aren't necessarily at peace. The strong aren't necessarily immune to hurt. And those we meet fleetingly sometimes leave a deeper mark than those who have been with us for a long time. We often think that everything must have a clear ending. But in reality, life doesn't always end with a period. There are stories that end in silence, to remind us that kindness doesn't need to be repaid immediately, that people destined to meet will meet again at a more opportune time, when each person is mature enough to understand why they once crossed paths. And who knows, somewhere after the rain in the Central Highlands, another encounter awaits them, just like you and I are meeting by chance here in this story. If you still believe in kindness today, then perhaps the most beautiful journey of your life is still ahead. At midday, the calm lake reflected the dazzling sunlight like a giant mirror. The space seemed peaceful, but a nameless unease arose in Theon's heart. He stood near the edge of the lake, his hand gripping his phone tightly, his eyes constantly scanning his surroundings as if wary of something. The call connected quickly. "Nam, Uyen, have you noticed anyone strange following you lately?" There was a few seconds of silence on the other end. Then Nam replied that everything was normal, but that answer didn't reassure Theon. He sighed softly, his gaze sinking. Since that photo appeared, memories he thought were buried had begun to resurface. The past was like a shadow. The more he tried to forget, the more it clung to him. He hung up, standing silently for a long time. The lake remained calm, but his heart was not. That afternoon, after a meeting arranged by his secretary, Anne, Theron went to a familiar coffee shop. The atmosphere was calm, with soft piano music playing in the background. Miss Anne's assistant was already seated, a thick stack of documents in front of her. The company's business was progressing smoothly. Renewable energy projects were developing according to plan, especially the solar power projects in the Mekong Delta and Dak Lak, which were receiving high expectations from partners. The positive figures created a rather positive atmosphere for the meeting. But then Miss Anne slowly said, "A major client requested a face-to-face meeting with the CEO before signing the contract." The Anne nodded. He understood that this meant he would have to travel for work soon. Just then, Miss Anne's phone received a new message. Her face suddenly changed color. "Han in Dak Lak just had her house broken into. I heard she's living alone with her mother, and they're in a very difficult situation." That name made the An's mood somber. Han was an old acquaintance, someone who had helped him during his challenging early days of entrepreneurship. Without much thought, he decided, "This business trip, I will visit her." It wasn't just work, it was also a debt of gratitude. Meanwhile, Uyen was cleaning the house when she accidentally dropped an old box. From inside, a photograph slipped out and lay still on the floor. The photo showed Theon younger, with radiant eyes standing next to an unfamiliar girl. Behind the photo was a name, Nu Yi. Uyen was speechless. She didn't ask, nor did she say anything. She simply quietly put the photograph back in its place. Many thoughts welled up inside her, but in the end, she chose silence. Not because she wasn't curious, but because she understood that sometimes present peace is maintained by not touching things that aren't ready to be revealed. Outside the window, a gentle breeze blew. Uyen told herself that everyone's past has its own dark corners. A few days later, the An suggested, "Come with me to Daklak. It'll be for work and to visit Han." Uyen was a little surprised, but still nodded. It was her first long trip. Together with Hoang, they prepared many gifts: fruit, necessities, clothes, and a few practical items for Han and her mother. The car rolled away as the city lights came on, beginning a long, overnight journey of hundreds of kilometers. Uyen sat by the window, seeing the city at night so brightly lit for the first time. Car lights stretched endlessly, and the tall buildings gradually receded into the distance. As the car entered the mountainous region, the scenery changed completely. The majestic mountains and forests of the Central Highlands appeared, and mist enveloped the winding roads. She was amazed by the vast world she had only ever seen on screen before. Near their destination, the car stopped at a roadside rest stop. After continuing for a short distance, a hurried voice called out from behind. A young woman was running after the car, waving continuously. Theron immediately stopped the car. The girl was breathless, her clothes covered in dust, and her knees scraped. In her hand was a familiar leather bag. The bag. You left it at the rest stop. It turned out she had run a long distance just to return it. Everyone rushed to ask her what was wrong, wanting to take her to the hospital, but she only shook her head, offered a faint smile, and refused all help. After making sure her bag was returned, she quietly left as if she had never been there. Later, they learned her name was Wang Fang Fang. Her life was incredibly difficult, abandoned by her husband's family, living alone in a small shack in the middle of a banana plantation, surviving by picking wild vegetables and bamboo shoots. Hearing that story, Uyen felt a heavy weight in her heart. The An also remained silent for a long time. "Let's go back and find her," Uyen whispered. He nodded. But as the car turned around, it suddenly started raining heavily. The dirt road became slippery, and then a dry, sharp bang echoed. The tire had gone flat. The rain in the Central Highlands poured down fiercely, a white curtain of water obscuring all directions. They were forced to stop in the middle of the road, their journey interrupted. Although they desperately wanted to go back and help the kind girl, they couldn't continue in the dangerous weather conditions and with their urgent work schedule ahead. Uyen looked out at the rain, her heart filled with regret. "Hopefully, I'll see her again." The An didn't answer immediately. He just looked back at the road they had come from, his eyes silent. The rain continued throughout the afternoon, casting a soft, melancholic gray over the Central Highlands mountains and forests. In the sound of the falling rain, each person carried their own emotions: remorse for not having been able to help, gratitude for a kind stranger, and a fragile belief that encounters in life are never accidental. Some people only cross paths for a moment, yet leave a lasting impression on the heart. And who knows, perhaps at another time, when fate allows, they will meet again, under a sky no longer in the rain.